Sure.
But I think as a gay person, it's particularly important that the last places of tolerance and Western thought are kept alive.
Yes, I have to say, in my own case, that's not particularly a galvanizing thing, I have to say. I mean, I think being gay is kind of boring as a subject in a way, because certainly for my generation, I mean, we sort of came out, and by your 20s, like, who wants to keep going on about that? Albeit I understand it why people did before, but you know, there's not a career or life, as it were, in just being a gay. You know,
right.
I mean, it's not a full-time occupation.
Right. Only so many of us can be in reality TV. You know? You know, there's only so many fashion gigs on Bravo.
And so I've never and it's never particularly influenced my politics. And in fact, I may have said this to you before, but I'm generally very opposed to the idea of politics being about what am I myself and how can I get the world to most accommodate itself towards me. I think it's a mistake. I think politics should be a search for some kind of truth, or the best arrangement that allows the truth to occur. And, you know, your own involvement in it or your own comfort in it is of importance. But I mean, I wouldn't want somebody who said, I'm totally into this because I'm fighting for myself and that's it. In fact, by the way, sorry, since you mentioned it, on some of this stuff, on the Islam stuff, for instance, actually the first warning siren to me was not the treatment of gays, it was the treatment of Jews, which I became sort of increasingly noticing there was a problem a couple of decades ago now. But it was that. I'm not
so
Jewish,
how are you seeing that in British society?
Well, I was worried about it because I started to notice that there were things that were being said that I thought wouldn't come around again. And as I say, I'm not Jewish myself, but you can notice these things and not need to, as it were, have a personal vested interest in it. You know, and I mean, I suppose one other thing I'd say about this is I generally think, I mean, the atomization of society into groups with their own interests is one of the things that's causing all this mess in America at the moment. I don't see why the job of gays should be just to sort of fight for the gays, and the job of the Jews should be to fight for the Jews, and so on and so forth. I think the idea of sort of looking out for each other is surely the point in a republic, and yet that point seems to be lost.
Right. So is that where this intersectional crew has really lost it? Because they're sort of getting what you're saying, that we should be looking out for each other. That should bring all of these minority groups together. Except instead of that, they're vying for most oppressed.
They're vying for most oppressed and most ridiculous and most hyperventilating and all of that. But the intersectionality people, I mean, there's two big things. One is they are the prime culprits of this thing of the myth of solvability. The myth of human solvability.
Right.
If we get the Rubik's Cube right, and okay, the gays get there, and then we can get the trans there, and then there's people here, and then the non-binary, and then this, and then the Muslims can get there,
and we can all think exactly the same.
We can all think exactly the same and speak in exactly the preferential order that we're allowed to speak in. It'll all be fine. Whereas my view is, you'll still have every single problem of the world ahead of you. You'll still have to work out what your foreign policy is. A whole load of stuff is coming. But so that's the first thing. But the second thing is they are obviously breaking apart American society. I don't think that's too much of an exaggeration, because they started at the universities and it's trickling across everything else. And I've been having really interesting conversations with people about this in recent years in Europe as well as in America. And one of the things I'm sort of slightly confident about here in America is that you do have an answer to it. And it's an answer you've had before. You know, the problem of the identity politics thing is we're already starting to see that apart from being wrong in itself, and I think morally suspicious and selfish, you can't stop what you're going to create on it. You can't have racial rights for every group and racial pride rights for every group and always hold back white, you know, pride, whatever. You just can't. At some point it's going to break. You can't keep bashing heterosexual men and not expect at some point that there's going to be some kind of response. So if everyone's allowed their group apart from the majority or whatever, then at some point that's going to get nasty, and I can see it coming so clearly.
Yeah, I mean, we see it now.
And it's already started. And the thing is that in America, you had the answer to this, which is what Tocqueville mentions. It's the deal of being in the Republic is you don't do that. You you deal with each other face to face as citizens. You don't do it as just people coming to hawk something in the marketplace, but face to face as individual citizens in the Republic. And this is the only way out. But I think there'll obviously be some mania before you get back there again.